This lesson, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding to a list by clicking a button. It's going to add a new item to the list. So we're picking up the current number of items already in the list, and then we're adding to it. So we're incrementing that value such we're getting the length, using documents query selector to select the page elements, creating a page element, creating a text node, and then appending those to the parents. Create an HTML page linked to the JavaScript. So right now the JavaScript is blank. JavaScript file is called add new list item JS. So let's go ahead and we're going to set up the HTML. So we need to have a button that we have within the list. So we've already got a button here. So we'll just add to the list, add item. And what we need is also, we need an unordered list that we can add to. So let's add that into the page. We've got the unordered list and we've got the list items. So just give it an item number here. So item 1, and add in another list item. And this can be item 2. So we've got a couple items there. We've got a button to add to the list. And we need to give the unordered list an ID so that we can select it from the page. So this is going to be the list item list. And now let's go over to the JavaScript where we can select these page elements. So select the item list by its ID and the button by its ID. So the button is going to be using the document, and we're using query selector to make the selection of the page element, and selecting the button first. And then next we'll select the item list, and the same way where we're using the document and query selector, selecting it by its ID, which is going to be item list. So that gives us access to both page elements. So now we want to make the button interactive. We're adding an event listener. The event that we're adding in is going to be a click event. So whenever the button gets clicked, and we'll fire off and run this code. So what we want to do is we want to create an element. So the element that we're creating is going to be a list item. So using the document create element. So this allows us to create an element on the fly. An element that we're creating is going to be a list item. And we already have the unordered list here under item list. So there we could use that. And next we've got the list item created. So we want to add the append child. And then we also want to add into the list item some content. So we can use that by using the document, and we'll create a text node. And the text node, whatever we want the contents within the text node. And this can be dynamic as well. And right now we'll just do new item. And we can also have a counter as well. So this is going to be, so right now we're starting out at 2. So we'll increment the count +1 every time the button is clicked, and add in a new item. I'm going to also use the template literals, so those are the backticks. So that will give me an availability to just add that counter in, and we can have the hash there. And I can update those other ones as well in order to include the hash. So the style will be similar when we're adding in. So that's appending items to the list. So that's what we have to do last, where we can append the child, and we want to append the list item to the list. And also, like, if you want your statement to look a little bit neater here, so we can do the create text item separate. So that will be an object, and then we can add that one in. So that code is a little bit more readable that way. And before we try that, this actually should be item list where we're adding it into. So that's the parent that we're adding it into. So there we go. Every time we click it, it's going to increment it by 1. And if we want to have the count before, so it'll be a little bit more accurate. And that will give us a count. If we want to have a dynamic value for the current list items that we have, so we can do a document query selector all of that object, and then we can have the number of list items that are returned back. So let's do that, where we've got the current lists, and we do from the item list, we can do a query selector all. select out all the list items that are contained within there by that tag, and then this will have a value for the length. So that will automatically set the value to whatever the next item is. And that's how we can create a list dynamically using JavaScript.